Here from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. Stop in during our Ultimate Fit event where you can find incredible deals to keep your feet comfortable and safe. Stop in now through March 17th for the Ultimate Fit experience and receive $10 off orthotics. Plus, don't miss the buy two, get one promotion for socks and accessories. Red Wing Shoes, the ultimate choice for those who work hard. Visit us today and experience the difference at 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Red Wing Shoes for ultimate durability.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday afternoon. It's 37 degrees outside the Fargo metro area with a light west wind at 7 miles an hour. And we'll have a full rundown on that forecast coming up during the show. Tuesdays on our program usually get a little out of control sometimes, and those regular listeners may know what I'm referring to, especially if you look up in the sky today. You might assume that we're going to start talking about what's going on up in the sky. And Bridgette's making some faces.
Her
her
eyes just hit the floor.
We're actually not going to talk about the things in the sky.
Okay, because otherwise Bridgette's like, I'm changing the channel. I'll be back in a few minutes when you guys are done.
Yeah, I got someone to do it for us this time. Hi, John. How are you doing today? He's already here. He was waiting before the show even started.
He wanted to make sure to get in.
Well, yeah. There's going to be a brief pause while we wait for the people down in the southwestern area to click off here.
You mean Doug?
Yeah. We'll wait. We'll wait for Doug and to click off. Or maybe Doug will call afterwards and go into another diatribe.
Maybe.
So what do you got? What do you got for us, John?
Well, an interesting chemtrail that I've been watching since yesterday. For those who are doubting Thomases out there.
Okay.
Did anyone notice the one in the afternoon? Well, midday to late afternoon. It started forming kind of like a kidney shape in the sky over to the east of it.
Kidney or a liver? Well, there's difference.
Well, no, I'd say it's more kidney shaped.
Okay, like a bean. See, this is egg related.
Yeah, that's kind of more my take on it.
Okay.
And just like a Chinese weather balloon, it has moved westward. It is now expanded and is slowly engulfing the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Cool.
So you tell me, because the jet stream usually flows west to east, correct?
I think it flipped around today.
Yeah. Okay. You keep telling yourself that. I think it's like a Chinese weather balloon. I think it's self-steering.
It probably is.
I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't see some flames shooting out the back of that cloud.
So, I mean, with all the spraying going on today, then that means it should rain tomorrow then. Is that correct, John?
Well, it's kind of clouding up to the west, getting kind of that darker hue to it, like maybe there might be a
wildfire smoke.
What are your squirrel nuts or your pecans?
What's your prognostication on this?
I still have not received the appropriate pine nuts that Bridgette gave to the people with dark suits and dark glasses.
You turned them in?
Bridgette.
Wow.
It was only the right thing to do.
I think she's gunning for me.
It was only the right thing.
Pretty soon. My loose prediction is 6 months from now it will no longer be called WAG. It'll just be called the Bridgette Readel Hour.
or it'll just be W because Bridgette quit.
Threw up her hands in disgust as she walked out of the building.
Oh man.
Oh, well, John, thanks for calling. Appreciate it. It is always good hearing from you, man.
And John wanted me to pass, on a serious note, John did want me to pass on a reminder. With the warm weather we've been having, if you've got your snowblower, obviously you probably haven't been using it, fire that up because John works with small engines and everything, and he's like, that will make sure that when it is time for that to run correctly, you got to keep that gas going through it. If you're not using it, so make sure you fire that up just to make sure that's still working. Just a little tip of advice from Mr. John Chemtrail.
I mean, it is a good piece of advice. I mean, there are a lot of times those things sit with old gas and they don't want to start.
I fired mine up once, just to fire it up, and it's probably.
I think that goes in line with generators as well. I mean, those things will sit for a long time in between uses. If you don't drain the gas, you're going to want to either burn it out or, start it up periodically so that way you don't get a clog in one of the lines or an injector or carb or whatever it is that piece of machine is using.
Good piece of advice.
Bridgette, how are you doing today? We learned that you turned
Fabulous.
in John. That's cool. He probably
I'm not
had it
giving
coming.
you two any. I'm not putting any more sugary snacks in the weather's office snack drawer. I see what happens when I'm not there to keep an eye on things.
No,
so here we are.
We ate them all, and this is the consequences
aftermath.
of not having more.
Yeah.
So until
true.
we get more, preferably maybe Girl Scout cookies.
I placed the order, but
You didn't.
I did.
Did
Let's
you
take this another direction.
Okay.
All right, potatoes. I've seen you two eat Pringles. I understand your fascination with them.
We
Justin's
made
even
mashed
tried to make them
potatoes.
into mashed potatoes.
Yeah, we
yes.
had them on air.
Yes.
But did you know National Potato Council estimates that the U.S. domestic potato industry is over 700,000 jobs, brings us $34 billion in wages, and $53 billion to our gross domestic product. Potatoes are big business, not just one of your favorite treats. Everything in all forms from flakes, slices to whole spuds are a huge commodity crop. But when it comes to fresh potato market, Germany, Netherlands, and Canada lead the world in production and exports. And Belgium, the Netherlands, and the United States are the greatest importers. So apparently the Netherlands, they decide that they don't have enough and they bring them in, and then they have too many and they ship them out because they seem to be indecisive about this. Nonetheless, that fresh potato market is $118 billion. And so just when you thought you weren't sure what your side dish should be, probably potatoes, because they have a huge impact. And even on our region, we have a tremendous amount of potato production at the northern end of the Red River Valley. We have potatoes in western North Dakota and southern Manitoba that all get brought down and processed here in a couple of different plants. So potatoes, big business, not just all mashed up.
Yeah, definitely. You can liquefy them and put them in a glass bottle above the stove.
Yes, you can.
All
Keep
right,
them for later,
how
perhaps.
How about a little trivia? Let's see if it's the obvious answer or not. Which state?
All right, what you got?
Which state produces the most potatoes?
You want my top three or just my top guess?
Top guess.
Top guess. The obvious would be Idaho, but I don't think that's the top. I bet Idaho's in the top three. How'd I do?
Partially correct. It is the number one.
Is it?
It
Good.
is. See, I figured that's the obvious one. Okay. What are the next two? I think you'll be surprised by this.
Maybe not, because we do a lot of potato production under irrigation. So I'm going to take a stab at the fact that it's probably Washington State and then probably Northern California.
Does Bridgette know her ag?
She does. Washington, followed by North Dakota.
Oh, yay.
And then
all right, we did take third
and
spot.
then Wisconsin and Colorado.
Wow, Wisconsin. I figured they'd have made that into beer by now. But anywho, they're
They
raising
probably
potatoes
have.
too. Very nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool.
Do you know what's going to go great with those potatoes a little bit later today?
Bloody Mary mix?
Yes, but we're going to have a guest from the Hope Creamery today where they make butter. And I think butter and potatoes seems like an ideal matchup. So here's why I'm so excited about having the Hope Creamery on. Back before Christmas, I kept trying to find one of our major butter producers who could talk about the whole process, right? And this was a company that makes butter that goes out across the nation. And after many phone calls and emails, they couldn't find somebody who could explain how they make the butter. So apparently it's fairy dust. But then I had another listener suggest we call Hope Creamery in Hope, Minnesota, and they're going to walk us through that process. How do they make the butter? All right, the truck of milk showed up. What do we do next? Because I'm curious. I want to see how this goes. And I hear great things about the taste of their butter as well.
Oh, like homemade butter churn. Oh,
Have you ever made butter yourself?
have I?
Yeah.
We had a project, I believe it was in high school where we made our own butter.
We did one of those in middle school.
Yeah.
And let's see if we did it the same way. You took heavy whipping cream and you
Yep.
put it in a jar and you just shook it.
Daylights.
A lot. Yeah, other explicit words.
I think it was something similar to that.
Yeah, you just shook it.
God, I thought there was some
Really hard
Yeah,
and
I
for
thought
a
there was
long
some more
time.
to it from what I recall. I don't know. Like I said, college ruined half of the cells. So to remember before college is a little rough some days. Sorry. I thought there was more to it than that.
You
though.
got 2 brain cells left after college,
and one's got broken glasses.
One's the turtle from Finding Nemo, and the other one is the sloth from Ice Age.
Thanks.
Well, the good news is we can remind Dean's Nemo and Sloth brain how that process worked when we get to talk to the folks from Hope Creamery today.
Perfect.
And there's not a lot of these left. There's actually still a creamery in North Dakota, but they only make ice cream.
Really?
And so they're a guest that I've also got coming soon. Pride Dairy in Botno. They make ice cream in the best flavors like Juneberry, strawberry rhubarb, choke cherry, really great vanilla.
Yeah, we got a caller here. If you want to join in on the program today, ask some questions, comments, join the conversation, share a laugh with us. 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line. We got Tom from West Fargo here on line 1. Tom, welcome to the show. What's going on today?
Yes, sir. So just a quick question for you guys. I know the answer, but how much cream is in half and half?
50-50.
The obvious answer is 50%.
It's 16%. That's what it's legal now.
Really?
I get this from a good friend who's a dairy farmer, and he delivers milk in glass bottles in northeastern Minnesota. So that is the legal now. They can still say it's half and half, but it's only 16% cream. The rest of it's milk.
Wow.
That's why they
Hey,
call it half and
Tom?
half then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know how far he will deliver milk in a glass bottle, because since my milkman about 2 years ago got picked up for trafficking marijuana, I'm in need of somebody new. So I would really appreciate if you could give him my name.
Yeah, not quite this far west. No, that is a slight problem, yes. Wow, so delivering milk and getting high at the same time. Wow. Yeah.
He never told me about that menu, Tom. I knew nothing about it. I'm really disappointed.
This sounds like a happy-go-lucky milkman here.
Right?
What was?
Did he put the marijuana in the milk so everyone got high, or just him?
Hey, you might be onto something here.
It would explain my extreme desire for cookies at any and all time. So
Right.
you might not be wrong.
Hey, Tom, appreciate the phone call. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening.
CBD infused milk.
What's this dude
THC
doing?
infused milk. Wow. Oh man.
Is he just throwing some raps out as he's going down, skipping through the neighborhoods of Hunter?
I never knew this about Bridgette's milkman before, but hey, you learn something new every day around here.
Right
Wow.
on.
Oh, Bridgette, so you want to introduce our guest who's coming up? I hope he's still with us after this story. He might have said, I'm getting out of here.
Well, Hudson, and I'm going to ask Hudson to make sure I get this right. Mrotz. Hudson is with the Hope Creamery in Hope, Minnesota, and I look forward to visiting with Hudson because after this last conversation, obviously we need more information on butter, and probably even cream. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Livestock trade a mixed bag as we wrap up Tuesday's session. You're listening to the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this market update. Well, as we approach the close of trade here on this Tuesday in the livestock sector, all three of the markets are mostly higher. No cash cattle trade has developed, and it's likely the trade is going to be delayed until sometime after Wednesday. The cattle complex will be excited to see the cattle on feed report that will be shared later this week, as January placements are expected to be sharply lower. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on the trade action as we work through the week and see if we do end up with any sort of position squaring as we move towards the end of the week. Box beef prices mixed at midday. Choice down 21 cents, $296.88 per hundredweight. Select up $276 at $290.16 per hundredweight. Meantime, on the hog side, pork cutout values down $1.46, $92.32. But this hog market is continuing to keep with its upward trend that we saw at the end of last week, at least trying to hang on to some moderate gains here as we wrap up our session on Tuesday. When we look at the lean hog index, that is up 63, 75.75, and the feeder cattle index is down 35 at 244.58. You're listening to the American Ag Network.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-926-1701. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-926-1701. 800-926-1701. That's 800-926-1701.
Let's take a look at the board here ahead of the close. Hogs, April up 70, 85.92. May hogs up 32 at 89.17. June hogs up 60, 98.35. March feeder cattle up 105, 252.07. April feeders up 240, 255.95. May feeder cattle up 317, 258.80. February live cattle down 12, 184.65. April 7 higher, 187.62. June live cattle up 50, 183.32. In August up 82 at 182.40. Over in the stock market, the Dow Jones down 72 points, 38,625. Crude oil up 30 cents a barrel, 79.49. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And thank you for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. So glad that you could spend some time with us. And in case you're wondering where to spend your time these days, well, I am in Jamestown for the Carbon Evolution Ag Summit, talking all things about carbon, both above ground, below ground, and how to figure out what's going to work best on your farm. Had the opportunity to listen to some panelists today and their great keynote speaker, Rob Sharkey, shark farmer from Illinois. Tomorrow, International Crop Expo is going on in Grand Forks at the Alaris. And while you're there, maybe you want to take in a meeting that Cargill Ag is putting on. Winter camelina is the topic. How can this be a benefit to you as not only a cash crop, but a cover crop? And when I say cash crop, there is interest from Cargill to buy that camelina. It'll be crushed and the oil could be used for sustainable jet fuel. So if you want to have some more information, that meeting is tomorrow in Grand Forks. It's at 1:30. Either drop me a message, ag@flagfamily.com, or go to cargillag.com/events to sign up. Now, I'm not sure if our guest is going to have time to do that. I think being the Creamery in Hope, Minnesota keeps you fairly busy. And so joining us today, Hudson. Hudson, is it Mrotz? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. It's my name is Hudson Mrotz. Thank you. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me on your program today.
This is going to be fun. You probably heard our lead up to all of our crazy discussions. So let's start out a little bit about the Hope Creamery in Hope, Minnesota. What's your history?
Sure. So we've had a creamery here for a little over 100 years. It was built in 1920 and ran as a cooperative creamery that was servicing the local dairy farmers in the area. And they bottled milk here and made butter all the way up until about the 60s, and then they converted over to just making butter from the 60s through the end of the 2000s. And at that time, the co-op dissolved, and my father, Victor Mrotz, actually purchased the creamery in 2001, saving it from foreclosure from the bank, and has kind of picked up the legacy where the co-op left off, and we've continued to make butter ever since.
So Hudson, I don't know if you heard our caller right before break, he was talking about half and half. And I'm sure most people think, it's half and half cream. And he said, is that true then? Is it that you only have to have 16% cream?
Well, we don't make half and half here, but I
Okay.
can speak on that. Sometimes the minimums can be a lot different than what people would expect, but with the commercialized food industry that we have nowadays, you get things like that sometimes.
Huh.
I'm sure maybe you've heard the story about how some of the meat at fast food places only has to be a certain percent beef to be considered meat, and some of them may not even reach that sometimes, and we're nowhere near that. But that's just an example of how that kind of thing can work.
Okay, so I am excited to ask about butter. As a former dairy farmer's daughter, this is pretty near and dear to me. And can you start walking us through that process? Your milk has arrived, probably come in by tanker. What are the next steps? Where do you start as butter maker?
Yeah, of course. So our process might be a little bit different than even larger companies because we don't do any milk processing ourselves. We actually pick up milk that's already been processed into cream from Plainview, which is about an hour east of us, over near Rochester, Minnesota. And then all of the milk is sourced from that little southeast corner of the state. Um, yeah, and then we bring it back as once pasteurized cream in our own, not a tanker truck, but a smaller bulk truck. It's more similar to like a straight truck. And so we start from that point, and from then on, we bring it into our facility and do some testing on it, make sure that our butterfat content is correct, and then we do some calculations from there. And we usually pasteurize in about 2 or 3 batches for the week. We repasteurize again, just to make sure that we didn't pick up anything that we didn't want on the way over here. And then from there, we get into the butter making process. The pasteurizing takes about 6 to 8 hours. We use slow form pasteurization. It was very popular kind of in the mid-century, 50s, 60s, 70s. Takes up to about 7 or 8 hours. And pasteurization, for anybody that's not familiar, is the process of heating up cream to kill off any bacteria that you may not want in your dairy products. And then you cool it down, preferably slowly, to bring it back down to the temperature that you would want it at for butter making as well as drinking or anything else.
And why would you want to cool it down slowly versus, say, like a rapid cool down? Is there some molecular science in there, or is that just how it stays better?
Yeah, I'm no food scientist, so I can't really explain the true molecular nature of it. But in my opinion, slowing down the cream or slowly cooling the cream leads to more preservation of flavor because you're not doing what we call shocking the cream. If you heat something up too fast or cool it really quickly, on a molecular level, it becomes a little more chaotic, and that can lead to a loss of flavor and lack of creaminess and smoothness, in my opinion.
Okay.
So as you're doing this whole process, what's the length of time? I heard you mention, 6 to 7 hours for this, etc. So from the time that cream arrives until it's packaged off as butter, what's the timeline look like?
So the regulation with the state is 72 hours from the time you receive raw
Oh,
cream to the time that it all needs to be finished. But we finish it much quicker than that. We pasteurize a batch, and that takes 8 hours. Then we let it sit overnight. Then we come in on Tuesday morning. It takes about 3 hours to actually make the butter in our large churn, which is very similar to shaking it in a glass jar or like an old school floor churn that you would use. And that takes about 3 hours, and then it takes us about 2 to 3 hours to package it, and then it goes into the cooler.
And Hudson, you're strictly local? Anything out of state, or is it?
The farthest that we go out of state with our delivery routes, we're actually we independently distribute. We don't work with a distributor. We have our own fleet of vehicles to distribute our butter. We deliver to the Minneapolis and St. Paul area, as well as Mankato and Rochester, maybe a little bit west of Mankato. But we do shipped butter. People can call in and we freeze it and send it through the mail. Just have to pay shipping fees on top of that. But we have quite a few people that do that from coast to coast. We do that year round. We have customers in California, New York, a lot in Iowa, North and South Dakota is very popular, Illinois, Wisconsin.
And do you have it labeled? The reason I ask, we go down to the cities quite a bit. Do you have it labeled in the stores as Hope Creamery or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I sent some photos earlier.
Oh, there we go.
Today
Yep,
of what
we
our
got it up.
labels look like.
We got it up
Yeah.
online right now. Yeah.
It comes in a vegetable parchment wrapper, which preserves the freshness and keeps the moisture in. We have 3 varieties: salted and unsalted, and then a high fat, which is that red label one there.
Super cool.
And that's really good for baking. It's a little bit higher butter fat than our normal unsalted, and makes your croissants very flaky. Pie crust turn out wonderful. That kind of thing.
Well, Hudson, we still have a bunch of questions here, but we're at bottom of the hour. We need to catch local news here. But if anyone has a question for Hudson from Hope Creamery in Hope, Minnesota, feel free to reach out to us. Give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000. Emails to the studio, weather or ag at flagfamily.com, as well as those comment boxes on Facebook and YouTube Live. Now, you were saying you do the pasteurization, turning it into butter and packaging. You're supposed to have it done within 72 hours. You get it done a lot faster than that. But what I want to know when we come back is how much milk are you processing at a time? And then you had also just made a point, you can get butter shipments across the states if you pay for shipping. You have people from East Coast to West Coast. I'm wondering what they have to say or why somebody would maybe choose you guys over another brand at their local supermarket. So I'd like to ask you that when we come back, as well as any other questions that you may have. Again, the Red Wing Shoes studio line is open. We'll get caught up with local news, and we'll get all those questions and yours when we return.
If you're thinking about buying a new boat, RV, camper, or a new ride that you want to keep safe, Luxor Garage Condos has a fun, safe space for you. Just a little more than a place that's a storage unit. Luxor spaces are designed to fit your style. It's a secure, non-commercial location with less traffic, plus interior upgrades offered at a reasonable price with a reasonable maintenance fee. Add bathrooms, kitchens, bars, entertainment area, or whatever you want. Luxor Garage Condos South on I-29 at the Wild Rice exit. Find out more online at luxor.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is once again calling attention to the crisis at the border after visiting North Dakota troops stationed there over the weekend.
The risk of us having a 9/11 type event in the future has gone up dramatically because in the midst of all of these, and yes, some of these people are, leaving countries with violence and seeking asylum in our country, but even if you got 1% of 8 million coming in, that means we've let in 80,000 people that have ill intent for our country, and the fact that we, and they're coming from 140 countries.
Burgum says just since November, 20,000 Chinese nationals have crossed the border illegally in the area where the National Guard troops are stationed. The National Science Foundation has awarded a grant to North Dakota State University to promote molecular biology in rural and tribal schools. The nearly $600,000 grant will fund an 8-week molecular biology curriculum development course for teachers this summer. And Minnesota State colleges and universities are looking for $1 billion in state funding from lawmakers during the 2024 legislative session. We're told the funds would mostly be used to repair existing buildings across the state. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Do you suffer from stiff, achy, chronic knee pain? Have you been told you have arthritis? Is knee pain keeping you from enjoying your favorite hobbies? If so, the next 60 seconds could change your life. Please listen carefully. If we find you are a candidate for our unique approach, we will do a trial treatment, and day one you will know, without a doubt, if we can help you. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-502-6200. And best of all, we may be able to reduce and even eliminate your knee pain without pills, shots, or surgery. Due to limited capacity, you must call now at 701-502-6200. Hurry. Call now to find out if you qualify for our program that is changing lives and helping people save time, money, and agony. Call now 701-502-6200. You have nothing to lose, so call right now.
If your job is just a job, reboot your 2024 with a career at Tharaldson Ethanol. Be part of a work family that operates one of the largest ethanol plants in America. Clean, state-of-the-art facility that is leading North Dakota's energy revolution. From family-friendly policies like 4 days on, 4 days off, exceptional compensation, benefits, bonus, and incentives. Positions start at $75,000 to $80,000 per year. Bring a strong work ethic and Tharaldson Ethanol will train you on the job. Apply online right now at tharaldsonethanol.com.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Yeah, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. It's just shy of 1:36 on this Tuesday afternoon. A quick check on your currents outside Fargo right now. It is mostly sunny to partly cloudy out there. 37 beautiful degrees here, with a west wind at 7 miles an hour, producing a wind chill of 32. A full rundown on the forecast is coming up in our next segment, but we're rejoining our conversation now with Hudson from Hope Creamery in Hope, Minnesota. Now, Hudson, before we went to the break, I was kind of teasing a question there on how much butter are you working on at a time, or how much milk are you doing per batch that you're getting all this done in? I think you about a 24-hour period, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so our usual load would vary between about 12 to 18,000 pounds of milk, or 18,000 pounds of cream. And that ends up breaking down to a little bit over 50% of that weight in butter. So if we get 18,000 pounds of cream, we end up with about 9,000 or 8,500 pounds of butter by the end of the week, split over 3 batches, that would be. So we work with about 3,000 pounds of butter at a time.
Wow, that is crazy.
Okay, longtime baker here. I'll take that entire quantity. If you could just have that drop shipped to my house, that sounds reasonable for my expectations.
We also have bulk unsalted.
Well, so can you explain that? Because for many of us, we bake, we follow recipes, and they say use unsalted butter versus salted butter. Why? What are the qualities that may differ? And do you find that you sell more of the unsalted or salted, Hudson? What would you say?
Actually, I would say that the quantities that we sell of each variety that we have kind of varies over the course of the year. Depends on what kind of season it is. In the summertime, we sell a little bit more salted, as when we get towards like baking and cooking holidays like Christmas and the holidays in the spring. We definitely shy a little bit more on the unsalted side, just because, like you said, people use it a lot for baking. But to address that, I think people do it because a lot of recipes, if they need salt, they'll call for the salt in the recipe. And so it just allows you to maybe have a little bit more control over how much salt you'd be putting into your product that you're making at home. Because we use, obviously, a very exact amount of salt, but it can be distributed maybe a little bit unevenly in the batch. So maybe that's why. But as far as the specific reason on my end, salted or unsalted, both works well for cooking, especially with our butter.
And Hudson, you said you have customers all the way from Illinois to California. Obviously, people can get butter in their local stores, but they obviously like yours if you're shipping that out to them. What makes yours so much better or so much different?
Sure. So the big difference to me is that we use a lot of processes that aren't used anymore, as far as like the slow pasteurization that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Most, let's say, commercial butter manufacturers on a much larger scale than us would probably pasteurize in less than 2 minutes, because they use very high temperature, very high speed. And when you use that higher temperature, that also burns off a lot of that flavor and dairy culture that you really want to try to preserve. And so that's a major factor, is that I think our butter has significantly more taste than the average butter that you would have. The closest that I found on the market that's available is stuff like Kerrygold, Irish butters, or like European hand wrapped butter that you can maybe find available at co-ops and stuff. Is about as close as you can get, but I still feel like ours is richer and creamier than anything I've ever tried.
Okay, I am absolutely enthralled because I have no problem using butter in pretty much everything. Like I use it in cast when I cook steaks. So this is fabulous. I'm simply curious now. The next question is, do you have a recipe? Is there a recipe that you use on a regular basis to make your butter? I know the processes are a little old school, but is this like grandma's recipe when she started doing it by hand with a butter churn?
Well, it's closer than that than you'd realize. Our method has been passed down verbally. We don't have a handbook on how we make the butter at the creamery. It's passed from butter maker to butter maker through experience. Um, and it is kind of every batch is a little bit different. All of them turn out a little bit unique. Some of them churn for longer or shorter. Some of them require more or less water added, more or less salt. And we have a series of calculations that we use to figure that out. Um, and yeah, it's kind of always a new experience. So the batches always vary a little bit. And yeah.
Based on that variance, as humans, we like to eat with our eyes, right? We like pretty foods. And people have an expectation of a color when it comes to opening up that package of butter, that beautiful golden yellow. Do you see that happening naturally, or do you have to add a little bit of coloration to make sure that it meets expectations of your customers?
No, we actually add no coloring or flavoring to our butter outside of the cream and the salt and the water. And in my opinion, our butter is more yellow, or it definitely fits the people's perspective of what butter should look like. I'm not going to say it's more yellow than everyone else's, but it's definitely we don't have to add anything to it to make it look that way. It's what a lot of people, maybe a lot of people could speak to their grandparents, and maybe some older people would remember the era when there was a lot more local creameries around, and that's where people's perception of butter first came from. So that yellow color has been there since the beginning, but due to the commercialization of the industry, that's where you lose a lot of the color, and then they have to add it back.
Very interesting. Wow. And are there any state standards or regulations that you need to follow that maybe many people won't know that there are specific regulations that need to be followed when it comes to butter making?
Well, we're inspected by the United States Department of Agriculture. We're inspected by the Minnesota Department of Ag, as well as we're inspected by the FDA, which I think maybe a lot of people wouldn't think. But we're held to different standards by all three of those organizations. And as far as one that I can think of off the top of my head, for pasteurization, you have to achieve 165 degrees and hold it for 30 minutes with the form of pasteurization that we're doing to exceed all three of those organization standards. And so we pasteurize between about 168 and 170 just to be safe. You don't want to be right on that line.
I see. And then what about any like byproducts from making butter? What do you do with the leftover milk from the butter making? Is it whey? Is that what they call it?
So I'll talk a little bit more about the actual like churning process. When you first put the cream in the churn, you churn it for about 30 minutes. And what that does is it separates out the butter fat from the buttermilk. And so you put it all in and it's all liquid, and then it turns kind of solid, and then it separates out into solid and liquid. And then what we do is we drain off all that buttermilk, and we used to, a lot of places would maybe bottle it. We've had a lot of people ask if we could bottle it. We just don't have the facilities to do that or the ability to take it anywhere to get it done. So we just land apply it onto our drainage field where the rest of our wastewater goes as natural fertilizer. We've given it to cattle farmers in the past, pig farmers, that kind of thing, to use as a product with their feed. But we haven't been able to have anybody for a little while. And when we don't have someone to take the buttermilk, then we just land apply it.
I see. Is there any Oh, go ahead, Bridgette.
Oh, no, wait. So what you're telling me is there's a chance that my bacon could come pre-buttered in a way. That sounds awesome to me. I just wanted to insert that as I'm a fan and sign me right up. Okay, keep going, Justin.
Are there any plans or thoughts of bottling or packaging the buttermilk and trying to sell it in the future if you're able to expand or get the additional space or equipment to do so?
Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas for ways that we could expand our business into different products, and bottling buttermilk is definitely one of them. But there's other things floating around that I think we would probably get to first. Probably the next products I would like to introduce would be a line of like compound butters, things like cinnamon butter and maybe fruit flavored butters, that kind of thing.
Now we're
Is
talking.
very common for people that make it home themselves, but we could make it and provide it for people. We used to make onion chive butter several years ago, but the market's just not quite consistent for that one all the time, so we haven't made it in a while. But that was very popular during the holidays.
Yeah, I bet it would.
Oh, no kidding.
Some good old compound butter on a steak.
Oh, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hudson, have you seen over the last few years, let's say after the pandemic, has business increased for you? And I mean, obviously, if you're looking to expand and you have ideas to expand the business, it sounds like it has. Do you have any local competition that you guys have to deal with?
As far as batch and vat made butter, there is no other competitor within like the tri-state area. There's a few people up in northern Minnesota that kind of do it as, a hobby, somewhere between a hobby and a business.
There's no competitor because Bridgette's milkman got arrested.
Right.
That's a good point. Well, Hudson, before we go here, would like to ask you real quick. So are you a musician on the side? Because if you're watching us online, Hudson's got a nice little drum kit back there, a couple of music stands, and are those turntables on each side, or what? What do we?
Yeah. I actually didn't realize this was going to be a live stream. I skipped over that.
That's
so I didn't
okay.
know that y'all were going to be able to see my room here, but yeah, I do turntablism stuff. I've been a drummer for a long time. I do that all on the side.
Nice.
Just for
Very
fun.
cool.
Just for fun. I like music a lot. Listen to lots of it. Lots of it while we make butter too. We listen to
Excellent.
music all day long.
Totally fine to have this stuff in the live stream because why not? I think that's just ideal.
I came home to my house to do this interview because it's actually very loud at the Creamery right now. We just finished making a batch of unsalted this morning. I actually rushed out right as we finished to come over here. And so we're washing up still, a lot of water being sprayed around and equipment running. So it would be probably pretty loud if I was there right now.
I see. Yeah, I'm going to have to go check out the website. And speaking of that, if anyone wants to take a look at your website, learn a little bit more about Hope Creamery, or maybe try your butter out for a try, where could they go to get information on that, Hudson?
For sure. We have a new website that we actually just updated this past year, hopecreamery.com. You can find a full list of all of our stores and places to find butter, places to buy merchandise, the number to get in touch with us to maybe get some butter shipped to you, as well as a little bit about our story and the history that we have here at the Hope Creamery, and the legacy that we're trying to continue here. As well as we also have a pretty popular Facebook page where we post little bits about our day and cross-post articles from different bakeries and restaurants that also use our product in the metro area. And yeah, we also have an Instagram if you like pretty pictures of butter and that kind of thing.
Looking you up now. Okay, got it.
Right on. Well, Hudson, thanks very much for taking some time out of your day and explaining a little bit about the Hope Creamery and the whole process of how you go from milking a cow to baking some cookies.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Thanks, Hudson.
Well, when we come back, we got another full check on the forecast. We got a couple more ag topics. And, of course, if you have any last-minute questions, feel free to reach out on that Red Wing Shoes phone line, 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
A brand new show is coming to WDAY Radio.
Hey everyone, it's Mariah Prusha, and I am really excited to have you join me every Monday from 11 a.m. to noon with Define the Fight, where I'm going to have unbelievable guests to teach you the importance of being resilient in life. Join me February 26th to Define the Fight.
Define the Fight with Mariah Prusha begins Monday, February 26th on WDAY Radio.
Would you rather have to work outside under the hot North Dakota sun in the middle of summer?
Or would you rather have work outside in the middle of a cold and windy North Dakota winter?
Well, your windows and doors don't get to choose because they have to work for you during both extreme hot and cold North Dakota weather. I'm Jaden.
And I'm Andrew. We're your window and door gurus here in Fargo.
We love what we do because we help people save money on their heating and air conditioning bills.
They like that a lot, but they also like how new windows and doors make their home look nicer, newer, and add resale value.
We give you a guarantee on the installation of your new windows.
Give us a call today. Our schedule is filling up fast.
We'll come to your home and show you a huge variety of windows and door styles and colors that we have.
We know you're busy, so we'll meet you when it works best for you.
We promise no pressure and no obligation. And we'll give you a free estimate on one window or a house full of windows.
The Window and Door Store in Fargo, 701-205-0110.
Better windows, better doors.
Let's have a neighborly conversation about the positive economic impacts CO2 utilization and storage will have for our two biggest industries in North Dakota: agriculture and energy. The Friends of Ag and Energy is coming to an ag show near you this month. Stop by and say hi. Register for a $100 gas card and ask us anything. Find out more at agenergyfriends.com. Sign the petition. Ask your questions. agenergyfriends.com. agenergyfriends.com.
Did you know you could grow winter camelina with Cargill and benefit from additional cash crop while capturing the advantages of a cover crop? Cargill is hosting a winter camelina information session on February 21st in Grand Forks for farmers to network and learn more about winter camelina as a developing market. Reserve your spot today by registering at cargillag.com/events. Profitability and environmental impacts can go hand in hand with Cargill.
If you're looking for honest, dependable, over-the-top customer service at affordable prices, you'll want to do business with Welton's Tire Service in Lisbon, North Dakota. Welton's is a name you've grown to trust, proudly serving the area for 50 years. Welton's Tire always works hard for customer satisfaction and service. They offer brands for every make. If you need tires, repair, maintenance, or on-farm tire service, contact Welton's Tire on Main Street in Lisbon. Tell them Beth sent you. Online at weltonstire.net.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Is that it?
Dean, you should take a Tums for that. That sounds terrible.
I had a little spicy lunch.
Yeah, that whole bottle of hot sauce you down with a bag of carrots. Who does that?
It's my diet.
Hot sauce and carrots?
Oh, it's good for you.
Man, I've never heard of hot sauce and carrots.
It's good for you.
He's got great eyesight, but he can burp up flames.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
He's like a dragon.
Yeah. Oh, man, I was going to say something, but no.
Yeah, we can go there.
Nope.
All right. Well, how about instead of that, we still got some fun things left in the show for today, and one of those is being an ag topic, and that's going to be terminating the green. And is that...
All right. I can take that one.
Yeah,
unless you guys want to.
Well, I mean, I could talk about terminating the green, but it probably wouldn't be as interesting or related as what you have to say.
Well, we know that one of the cover crops that gets used a fair amount is indeed a rye crop, a cereal rye, and we're using it as a cover crop. So in instances where we're facing the weather we currently are, where we have little snowfall, we're not catching all of that soil surface with a covering, we can do that by planting a rye as a cover crop in the fall. And now this spring, when it's time to plant the corn, we can plant corn directly into it. But just a reminder, because we'll probably be getting in the fields a little bit earlier this season than we have, make sure that you are prepared to terminate your rye as soon as you plant the corn. Corn doesn't do well with early crop competition, and you're not raising that rye as a cash crop. You are simply doing it as a cover to hold your soil in place and preserve moisture for your coming cash crop, which of course is the corn. So just keeping that in mind as a reminder from our university folks, if you don't terminate early, you can have impacts of anywhere in the 30 to 40 bushel range, and that's a lot on corn. So we are going to learn more about corn later this summer. That's my sneak peek of things to come from us here at WDAY. But just keep in mind, we're going to learn a lot about corn, and one of the first things we would remember, terminate your cover crop at the right timing. How's that, guys?
I love it. And we had a comment over there on one of our live streams from Dirk. He's saying, I'm totally in for onion and chive butter. What's the minimum order? Well, Dirk, I'm sure you could find out by reaching out to Hudson over there at hopecreamery.com. That does sound very interesting. A chive and onion butter. Because I'm a really big chive and onion cream cheese fan.
Their butter in general, he sold me. Hudson totally sold me on the fact that it's time for me to up my butter game. And if they're compared to things like Kerrygold, etc., I think that's excellent. Now, the other thing I like is they're close to us. They're a Minnesota-based company. And why wouldn't I want to support something like that, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna go check them out. And maybe if you want to go in on an order, I'd be down to do so. Dean, is butter in your diet?
Well, I'm going down to the cities here probably in a few weeks. I can stop by one of the stores and pick some up.
I want it right from the creamery, right from the factory. I don't want it.
Man, you're
from Minneapolis.
You are high maintenance.
Say it.
High maintenance.
Do it. You won't. You won't.
Okay.
Do it.
Case of butter. Dean, I have a deal for you.
Okay.
I have some beer from Agronomy on Ice, the specially labeled Egg Mafia Swill, and I will swap you beer for butter if you're able to bring this case of butter situation to fruition.
Okay, hold on. Let's play Monty. Let's play Monty Hall here. And I know Justin's way too young to know what that is. We'll do beer.
That's wildly inappropriate.
We'll do beer and 2 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, Thin Mints, for the butter.
Dude, you could have picked something
I can do
else.
this.
We're already getting the Girl Scout cookies.
This is on top of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to up my Girl Scout order. Okay, got it. So if my Girl Scout is listening, I'm going to need some more. Message me.
Hey, Dean, you want to try and... I feel like I'm going to butcher this. You want to try and read that last word on Tuesday?
I know you'll butcher that.
You want to try that one out?
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do much better than you.
What word is it? Can you pronounce it?
Let's see. Chlorpyrifos update.
For $1 million,
so close.
Bridgette, is it correct?
So close. Chlorpyrifos is an active ingredient in an insecticide. Back in December, there was a court finalized judgment that vacated the rule done by the EPA back in 2021. That 2021 rule revoked the uses of chlorpyrifos in field crops in the U.S. What now changed in December is we're now back on to being able to use chlorpyrifos. So if you are a soybean grower looking for a way to combat soybean aphids, sugar beet root maggot fly, or sunflower growers who have lygus bug, this is now a product that, if it has current federal registration, you can again use for the summer of 2024. But you also have to make sure you have state registrations. Those are mandatory as well. So the bottom line is, if you raise soybeans, sugar beets, or sunflowers, talk to your agronomist if chlorpyrifos is one of the active ingredients you want to use for insect control.
Right on.
That wraps it up for today.
Appreciate
Jay
it,
Thomas
Bridgette.
shows- Well, have a beautiful afternoon. You boys delivered some fine weather, and Jay Thomas is coming up next.